Today we're looking at the Bank of America banking pyramid. Whether you have $300 or $3 million, there's probably something for you. We're going to start with the personal side, then move to business, and then finish off with Merrill Lynch investing. Big favorite before we dive into everything though is to give us a thumbs up to help with the algorithm. If you know someone that might benefit, then share this with them. Level 1 is non-preferred, so anyone with less than $20,000. There's not much going on here. Depending on account type, you can waive fees with minimum balances, direct deposits, or based off your age. But yeah, the main idea is that these are accounts and you can waive the fees with the different levels. By itself though, nothing to write home about. Level 2 is the first rung of the preferred rewards program. It's going to be gold status and you need $20,000 to $50,000. The qualifying balances here are pretty broad. This includes personal Bank of America deposits and also Merrill Lynch investments. On the deposit side, you have checking, savings, and CDs, and investments are pretty broad as well, including Roths, IRAs, and self-directed. If you do have joint accounts, it's going to count 100% for both you and the other co-owners. So for example, let's say you have $25K in the investment account in a joint account. All the parties in that account would have gold status. In order to keep status, they normally look at your 3-month combined average daily balance. If you are a new account though, then it's a bit different, so you only need to hit that requirement for 1 day within the first 30 days of account opening. At the moment, and this can change in the future, this 1 day can actually lock up that status for 1 year. So even if you drop below that, you have 12 months from when you first qualified, and you're fine. Even then, after this 12 months, you actually have a bit more time. So if you did keep the average for months 10 to 12, then that's fine, you keep it for another year. Otherwise, it starts a 3-month grace period where the average balance determines your new level. But yeah, theoretically, for a new account, 1 day could get you 15 months of that status. For the lower levels, I don't think it matters that much, but for the higher ones, there are some strategies, especially if you are chasing other bonuses. Also, you do have to be willing to do some legwork. Otherwise, a lot of brokerages do have promotions, and people chase those. Okay, so what do you get with gold status? The maintenance fees are now waived along with incoming domestic wire fees and things like cashier check fees. Outside of the day-to-day stuff, the main draw is increased rewards on their credit cards. You get a 25% boost on all eligible cards. This includes the core ones like the Bank of America customized cash rewards, unlimited cash rewards, travel rewards, premium rewards, and premium rewards elite. Note that this does not include partner and co-branded cards such as Alaska. We'll get into the nitty-gritty in a minute, but for gold status, it's just okay, not really worth chasing to me. At this level, I'd argue other setups make more sense. Level 3 is platinum status, which is 50K to 100K. Again, this is deposits or investments, so don't feel like you need to keep cash here. This isn't a bad position, but also feels kind of like a middle child. Perks-wise, you get everything from gold, 1 refund for out-of-network ATMs in a small safety deposit box, or $30 off larger ones. The main draw though is the 50% boost on credit cards, so twice as good as gold. Again, not bad at all, but the sweet spot is probably the next one. With level 4, we have platinum honors, which is 100,000 to 1 million. You get all the perks of the prior ones, and also unlimited refunds for out-of-network ATMs, so feel free to withdraw as needed. The reason people care about this one though is that it's on the top of the pyramid for credit card rewards. So you get 75% more rewards on eligible cards, which is pretty awesome. One big thing to note is that the boost replaces the 10% customer bonus, but 75 beats 10% anyways. Okay, so who should care about the setup? This is a fan favorite among Team Cashback or Team Normal Travel who just wants to book, doesn't want to deal with transferring to partners, finding availability, and learning all the nooks and crannies. With the very similar sounding cards, you can kind of bucket them into 3 different types. On top, you have the super targeted ones, you have 2 everything else ones, and you have 2 travel and dining ones that also work for everything else. Most people run the top one, so the customized cash rewards, and then the bottom one that makes sense. With that said, there is a pretty big catch to this setup. The customized cash rewards has a pretty low spend cap for that 3% and 2% category of just $2,500 shared per quarter. So shared between the 3% and 2%, not $2,500 each. Given this, it's not abnormal to have multiple of these cards as needed. So let's say 4 or 5 depending on your spend. Also a reminder that for each of these, the 3% is a choice category and you can change this only once per month. Given this, a lot of people do have different cards to focus on different categories. So for example, let's say one of them is your gas card while the other one is online shopping. The 3% here is 3.75% with gold, 4.5% with platinum, and then 5.25% with platinum honors or higher. 2% becomes up to 3.5% on the top end, and 1% up to 1.75%. 1.75 on everything isn't that competitive, that's why you'd want one of the other cards. So let's say if the unlimited cash rewards are the travel rewards, their 1.5% becomes 2.625%, which is above the target point. 2% being the bar you generally want to beat. If you are doing some traveling though, then it might make sense to get the premium rewards for dining and travel. Here 2 points per dollar becomes 3.5 points, which is effectively 3.5%. Yeah, overall it's a pretty solid setup, and as you can tell, Platinum Honors and up is where the setup really hits its strides and becomes overpowered. If you are spending a ton and you're flying, I'd recommend the Premium Rewards Elite. Main reason being that you save 20% on domestic and international flights for any class when you pay with points. Be careful that prices can vary by their backend provider, but generally about the same. But yeah, your mileage may vary and shop around as needed. With that said, let's say we're looking at a $1,000 flight and you see the same price elsewhere, then you're going to need 100,000 points to cover that flight. With that 20% discount, so 20,000 points off, you only need 80,000 points. So you're covering a $1,000 flight of 80,000 points, which means that you're locking in 1.25 cents per point. It is specific to flights through their platform, but not a bad number. This does not benefit the customized cash rewards card, since that's cash back and you need points. In this case, 2x back is 2%, which becomes 3.5% for Platinum Honors, which then becomes 4.38% when you book in this way. And again, this is for travel and dining, which isn't bad at all. Even better though is everything else, which is 1.5, which becomes 2.63, which then becomes 3.28%. Not a bad effective value, and if you're booking airfare through them anyways. I think you can still get more value by transferring points, especially for premium flights, but for normal ones, it's not bad. I guess it kind of depends on your stage of life as well. Right now, I'm more interested in fun trips, but maybe that slows down for 9 months or a year. But yeah, if you have a family or if you don't travel, then I can totally see the power of this setup. On a side note, if you want to learn about these cards or pretty much any other cards out there and you want to support the channel, we have links on the website, asksabby.com, and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, that they make sense, but otherwise it is a huge way to support the channel, so thank you in advance. Level 5 is Diamond Honors, which is 1 million and up. Perks-wise, you're getting everything from before, but you have unlimited checking and savings accounts, fully waived ATM foreign exchange surcharges, 2 outgoing wires per cycle, and any size safety deposit box is free. My main issue is that a lot of other banks will waive the same fees without having $1 million. You get there a lot faster elsewhere. If your focus is on everyday banking, I kind of feel like there are better choices elsewhere, but maybe that's just me. You also already hit the ceiling of credit card rewards with the last level. With this one, you're still getting the same 75%. There are other perks, but it feels tougher to value. So for example, rates sound great, but you generally want to shop around rather than be loyal, and it kind of depends on the market. Instead, the main draw, or at least what they're pushing, is lifestyle. So they have a bunch of benefits that are exclusive to members at the Diamond Honors level. This includes savings for Backroads, which is their partner adventure vacation company, savings and incentives on cars, discounts at Reserve Bar, members-only golf events, discount at Net-a-Porter, and savings on other services. Whether this is worth it depends on you. My read of it though, looking at a bunch of different data points, is that it doesn't sound that interesting, and it's relatively disappointing, especially if you're savvy and willing to look elsewhere. Maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like there are other ways to get the same benefits without $1 million. For example, even with the luxury car discount, it sounds great, and money off is always nice, but you could also get the same with Founders Card. At least right now, they're pretty much giving it away to anyone that has Clear, and they keep promoting it to me every time I take an Uber. To me at least, this feels like a pretty underwhelming level, and I'd probably go with Platinum Honors. That one feels like the sweet spot. Level 6 is Bank of America Private Bank, which starts at 3 million. So the official number is 3 million in investable assets. I also have her 10 million as your net worth, with a lower investable number. Looking at data points from prior employees, 3 million here is pretty broad compared to other banks. Includes assets under management, loans like mortgages and lines of credit, and deposits. With Private Bank, you get Diamond Honors tier regardless of your balances. And again, I think this is where the net worth number might come into play. For Private Bank, there's 3 key focuses. Number 1 is investing and wealth management, number 2 is charity, and 3 is art services. Investing includes the standard stuff, but also alternative assets and fixed income, and also specialty assets. So for example, farm, timberland, and other non-financial stuff. If you don't have 3 million, there are other sites that kind of do the same thing. So for example, I've heard pretty good things about Acre Trader. Art and art investing is something the Private Bank helps with as well, so they have a lot of strategies, including borrowing against your art collection. Speaking of which, you do unlock more lending options, such as using your yachts, aircrafts, commercial real estate, or fine art as collateral. On the fun side, it's mostly around art. They host events during art festivals for private bank clients. One of the big ones being Miami Art Week. Compared to a lot of other private banking programs, the bar here is a bit lower, so might be worth considering. The business side is pretty much a consolidated version of the personal one. So you have 3 levels: gold, platinum, and platinum honors, 20k to 50k, 50k to 100k, and 100k plus. Perks are pretty minimal and almost a secondary thought to me, at least the everyday banking ones. The main draw are the 25, 50, and 75% boost for their eligible business cards. The mix of options here are a bit different. You have the business advantage customized cash rewards, unlimited cash rewards, and travel rewards. You don't have the premium rewards and the premium rewards elite. Also note that the personal side and the business side are pretty much separated for this purpose. One big draw of the business version of the customized cash rewards card though is that it's a lot less annoying. So instead of it being quarterly, it's annually, and it's on the first $50,000 in combined spend per calendar year for that 3% and 2% category. That means that depending on your business, you might only need 1 or 2 of these rather than 4 or 5. Similar to the personal one, it is a choice category for that 3%, and you can change it once per calendar month. Categories include gas stations and EV charging stations, office supply stores, travel, TV, telecom and wireless, computer services, and business consulting services. Lots of strategies for business consulting services if you know what you're doing. This means that 3% is upwards of 5.25%, which is pretty good. 2% becomes 3.5%, and then 1.5% becomes 2.625%. For other cards from other issuers, it's generally 1.5% for no annual fee, and then 2% with an annual fee. 2.625 beats 2. Merrill Lynch, which is the investing side, also has their own levels. It is pretty cut and dry for the most part, so let's speed run it. The first level is a self-directed one with 0 minimums and free trades. They also do have a robo-advisor that starts at 1k for growth and 50k for income strategies. For this, they charge 0.45%, which feels like a bit of a premium. You do get a discount for preferred rewards, but it doesn't feel like it's enough. Even on the top end of Platinum Honors, you're still paying 0.3%. There's a lot of other options with other robo-advisors like Wealthfront that start at 0.25%. That makes a lot more sense since it's a lower number and you don't need to have 100k with them. If you are going the robo-advisor route, I would definitely shop around. The next level up is the hybrid model, which is twice the fees, so even tougher unless you really want to talk to a CFP once per year. And even then, I think you're better off just paying for that CFP's time than going this route. Level 4 is their investment advisory program, their IAP, and you have a full service financial advisory team. You do need to have 250k in investable assets, and it's generally up to 1.35% in fees. If you're looking to do bespoke stuff or tax optimization, then it might make sense, but I'd probably still look elsewhere. Again, Wealthfront seems like a better option. They have a tax loss harvesting strategy that generally helps you cover their fee given what they're getting you. Looking at data points, people seem to be pretty happy with it, but just depends on you. I guess you could do it for cheaper if you did it yourself and set up your own optimizations and automations, but for normal people, this seems like the easiest way. Level 5 is Premium Access Strategies, which is going to be their ultra-high net worth sleeve within the IAP program, so the Investment Advisory Program. You need 5 million, and it's pretty much an upgraded version of Level 4. It might make sense if you're looking for a manager of your funds, but otherwise not really worth chasing. Nothing really jumps out at me. Level 6 is actually the same requirements for Level 5, but outside of the standard IAP program. This one is a bit more interesting, and the main draw is institutional desk access, custom credit, and also family office style stuff. For Merrill Lynch, I think the top level makes sense, but otherwise I'd probably stick with self-directed, given the aggressive fees in the middle. Even if you don't want to be self-directed, there's a lot of other options that are going to be way cheaper. But yeah, the main draw of Merrill Lynch is that your assets qualify for the Bank of America levels and for those boosts even if you have just ETFs. So pretty much supercharge your cards by moving your holdings from one place to another place. Again, if you want to learn about cards, we have links on the website, asksebby.com, and also down below in the description box. If you made it to this point, leave a battery emoji in the comments down below, and I'll try to heart it and also respond. 3 questions. Number 1, what are your thoughts on this pyramid, and which level do you like the best? Number 2, do you agree that Platinum Honors is a sweet spot, and would you do creative moves, like transferring ETFs, even temporarily, in order to hit it? Number 3, what are your thoughts on the private bank? Were you surprised, or did you expect more? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favorite, thumbs up, share this, otherwise hope you liked it. See you next time.